And there we are. That's a message from us to you. Take good care and leave Christine. The 345 self-esteem. Steam-powered giraffe with the malfunction. And finally, We the Kings with Just Keep Breathing. And as promised, we have guests in the studio. So please welcome Trish and Casper.
Yes.
So Trish, can you tell us a little bit about Casper before we start?
Yeah, so Casper's a Maltese Terrier, which is sometimes called as a Maltese. He's almost 7 years old. He's 7 next week. It's his birthday next week, so he'll be a big 7. He's a super gentle dog. He likes to have lots of company. He's very placid, but he can also be very playful. He's got a very special ball at home that he likes to play with. He likes to run off into the garden with it, so he's very playful. He loves to be outside running around on grass. Not a big favour of walking around pavements. He does grump a little bit. And he likes to come in the hospital. He likes to be in his pram. People will see him in his pram. Walking around the hospital, having fusses, giving fusses to people, and hopefully making people feel a little bit better.
Right, so just in case you're wondering, which you shouldn't be because there's been notifications on our Facebook page, but Trish and Casper are both part of the Pets as Therapy service. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Pets as Therapy is an organisation that's based fully on volunteers. It is about animals, but it's not just about animals. It's about people volunteering their time. The way that it works is that, you know, I decided I wanted to do this with Casper. I thought he had the right temperament, so we had to go through an assessment. So it's not, you know, I had to apply. So if you go onto the petsastherapy.org website, you can apply to be a volunteer. And then we had an independent assessment where they have to check that he's not, you know, he's got the right qualities, so to speak, which he passed with flying colours, I'm pleased to say. And then what happens is the organisation, they help you to pair up with organisations or companies, places that are looking for a pet. And that can be anything. It can be from a hospital, like Chorley Hospital. It can be a school. It can be older people's living places. It can be a hospice. It can be any number of organisations. Then we go through the process directly with that organisation or that company. So I did here with Chorley, using Sarah to help us. I went through the application process and said, you know, are you looking for people or can I come? Once we pass that, if you call it a recruitment process, but it's not really a full recruitment process because it's volunteer. And then we come when we can. So we try to come once a week to Chorley Hospital. We don't come on the same day, we come on different days. In advance, what happened was the team reached out to all the wards and said, you know, would you be interested to have a therapy dog come visit? And obviously a number of people have said yes. When I go in week to week, what happens is that some people, you know, obviously love dogs. In fact, I have to say most people do. But you get a mixture of people in the hospital. You get people who have, you know, sadly they're in hospital and they've got their pets at home, whether it's a dog or a cat, or any other animal. You know, they're very affectionate with animals. They want to, and it just makes people feel well. But also for the staff. But I should say that Pets as Therapy isn't just about dogs. It's cats and animals. It's not just exclusive for dogs. But also they're just looking for volunteers to go and help. So, you know, even if people don't have an animal, it doesn't mean that you can't support it.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's how we're here. We've been through it, you know, he's been doing it now for probably just over a year. Moved to the area last September. So prior to that, Casper had a different location where he went. It was an older people's day centre, which was a mixture of people, maybe some with dementia, some people just having respite for day. So we went there. They were very happy to give him treats as well. But since we moved to Chorley, I wanted to come and try a hospital. So there's lots going on in the hospital for him.
Sounds it. Now, you're not be able to see this on radio, but this is going to be videoed and put up on my YouTube channel. So at the moment we can't see Casper. He's hiding under the table, I think.
He is.
Here he is, the star of the show. We'll get a photograph of him and put it up on the Facebook page. I think that might be the best way of doing it.
I would say a lot of people have seen him by
Yeah.
the hospital and by the corridors, and there you go, he's trying to sniff it out. And and the great thing is that people stop me in the corridors, and I'm going to say a nurse stopped me the week before last, and she might not have been a nurse, she might have been a ward manager or someone else. So, and she just said, "Oh, could you please go visit X ward?" She said, and it was for the staff. She said, they would absolutely love it if you could go do that, and every time you come, could you just pop in. So that's what we do. People stop us and ask. And it can be anyone. It can be a patient, it can be people visiting. Sometimes, we've been around with visitors. But equally, the domestic care people, the porters stop, they stroke him, and it seems to brighten people's days, and that's why we're here.
Yeah. Well, I always say when I meet a dog that I've got canine constipation. I can't pass a dog. Because, as I was saying earlier, I lost my dog Laddie almost a year ago, and it's a tough thing to deal with, but it's lovely being able to make a fuss of a dog and get the fuss back as well. So when we were talking before we came on air, or in fact it was not before we came on air actually, it was when you was giving you introduction or explaining about how you went through the process. What kind of temperament are they looking for with animals?
So a key thing about dogs really is they're looking for dogs that are fairly placid. So you have to bear in mind somewhere like a hospital, there's so much going on, so they don't want dogs that are going to bark a lot. They can't jump, they're not allowed to jump up at people, because obviously that can scare people. They've got to be familiar with loud noises, so obviously in an environment where somebody drops something, so they've got to be able to deal with different situations where there might be different noises or different things going on. They need to be, they need to have the temperament where they can let other people touch them, so they can't be snappy. They just, you can stroke them, pull their ears. If you're in a school, for example, you can have lots of children. With the dog that wants to touch its tummy and pull its tail and whatever, so they've got to be able to withstand that sort of treatment. But equally ones where, again, you did it before, you fed him a treat, where you can feed him a treat, and that's fine for people to do that here in the hospital or elsewhere, where they don't snatch, so they've got to be that sort of temperament where they quite, I almost want to say docile, but they're not, but very placid, calm. And as a handler and as a volunteer, they've got to be under your control at all times. I've actually had people here, say, "Is he your dog?" And yes, the volunteers that support Pets as Therapy as a charity, there are dogs. Casper's my pet. He's my dog. He wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't with me. They've got to be able to just be relaxed and calm. You can see he's coming here, he's met you, he's not been running around in your studio destroying anything. So their temperament, so they just go through an assessment. It doesn't take very long, but a completely random person, we actually did his assessment in a coffee shop, so a different environment, somewhere neutral, and the assessor, has to be able to touch him, stroke him, and see how he reacts to all sorts of different things, be able to give him a treat, and they make that judgment based on that. But obviously, as well as that assessment, it's got to be in the interests of the people you're visiting to make sure that you're taking an animal that's well controlled in their environment, and they can only be handled appropriately. So that's what we went through. He was Superboy, and he passed with flying colours, and here he is today.
We can tell he's so chill.
Yeah.
He showed us a picture of his favourite position, and it was horizontal.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it is. I have to say though, he is very playful. He can be very playful, and the traits. He's a Maltese dog, and the traits of a Maltese are they can actually be very stubborn, and they get very jealous. So he's got. We have another dog at home, and if I'm cuddling the other dog, he wants to be there. You know, if she gets a treat, he has to have one. It's got to be fair and fair. You know, it's like the look. So he's very, very super sensitive dogs, and but equally they just give lots and lots of love back. That's what it's all about.
I hope they do. I'm just hoping. I'm just wishing he'd make some form of noise. Yeah. Just wish he'd just like give a little bark or something, just so we know he's here.
Like you're talking.
Because it is radio, and it's not really good for
he's
images.
not a big
but he is.
barker. He does bark at times, you know, but his bark is one sometimes. It's more he does a woo 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 noise. It's like woo woo woo. When he, you know, and that's usually at home at night time. But and he likes very much. I have to say, he likes to watch television. So you might think he's not watching television, you might think he's asleep. But if another animal comes on television, or sometimes cartoon animals, all of a sudden he'll just sit up and start barking at television. And the strangest thing is you think he's not been watching it, you think he's just been asleep. But he can, anything, whether it's a horse or a bird or you know, a monkey or anything, he's like glued, and he loves watching television as well, you know, obviously lazy watching television on the time. So you might think he's asleep, but he'll be watching, and if horses come on, so when I used to take him around to my mum, she put the old westerns on, so if you can't watch the National Geographic channels, because he would be barking and he would at the telly, so you know, things like Grand National at the weekend, you can't put that on, he would bark. So if you want a sure way to get a noise out of it, Stephen, then put something on the television.
Right, I'll get YouTube up.
He definitely likes watching a bit of television here and there.
Definitely healing. How peaceful he is, it's definitely healing. And we can just, super calm. Yeah.
Well, not always. You know, they do run round. I mean, as I said, he likes to run round and, you know, take him to the park and stuff and let him run round, and he's just bobbing along like a little rabbit. He's like quite happy. You know, he's a dog at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know, he's got the temperament, but he is a dog.
Yeah.
And we do keep in touch with where we got him from. So, and they always get photographs twice a year at Christmas and his birthday.
Oh.
So this is how wonderful. And we've been back to see his mummy and daddy, haven't we? So his mummy dog and daddy dog and stuff and the breeders. So we've been back to see them. And it's quite funny when you take them back after a couple of years and you think, oh yeah, he looks like them. You know, he does look like them. So yeah, he does have an amazing temperament, and we're very fortunate. We're very blessed. And now he's given a very big yawn. It's very hard work being in the hospital. He's just saving his energy. He's going to go and see some patients.
So we found out about Casper. What about you? What do you do when you're not bringing Casper in? And this is a question I always ask to guests. What do you do when you're not volunteering here?
I have a day job, so I'm very fortunate that I'm self-employed, so that allows me to work a little bit around the schedule. And I have to say, over the years that I've been fortunate enough, I travel a lot for my work, so I tend to do, it's very boring, I tend to do a lot of transformational work for companies, and when I actually got Casper and his little sister, I was working in Spain, so I actually flew them to Spain to be with me for about 6 months because I missed them that much, and I wanted to, the whole idea of having dogs, so it was a bit of a traumatic time. Oh, there you go, a little noise out of it. Traumatic time, flying dogs, not an easy thing to do, but it was well worth it, and I have to say, you know, for anyone that's been to Spain will know that they love animals, and they have a great tendency for dogs. You can take them most places, you take them to restaurants and everything else, so it was a great lifestyle for us. It wasn't so wet, drier country, and fortunately they travelled very well. So I've been around home now for a while. I think COVID's brought a lot of people around home, and yeah, so very fortunate that me and my husband both work remotely, and if I do travel, then someone's at home looking after them. So, and then he does go to like a doggy day group a couple of days a week, once or twice a week. We found somewhere really good in Chorley, because it's really good to socialise them with other animals. They like to mix with dogs, and it just gives them a different environment for a day, and they get lots of fresh air and lots of outside running around type space. Sadly, the weather's not been so good, as we know, the last few months. But yeah, we found a place not far where we take them, and they really quite like it.
He's off.
You're off.
Yeah.
And shake.
There you go.
He's off. Well, he's off for more treats. There you go. So for me, I'm fortunate that I can work a little bit around the schedule. So doing this is something that fits very well, and you know, I really enjoy it. I did it because I wanted to give something back.
Yeah. So have you thought of doing? Me saying about wanting to give something back, was the pat dogs the one that really appealed to you, or was the other things that you were looking at as well?
No, pat dog appealed to me because once my mum was in hospital once, and somebody came round. I was there at visiting time, and a gentleman came round with a dog. And obviously we loved animals, we love animals. And it was like, oh, wow, you know, this gentleman came round, and he was pets therapy, he was a volunteer for pets therapy, and he had a dog. And I said, God, what an amazing thing to do. Didn't know you could do that. How wonderful, you know, it brightened her day. And we always said that we thought Casper had the right temperament to do it. And again, sadly for work reasons and other reasons, wasn't able to do it sooner. And then I just got to the point I thought, I really want to do it, and I think let's go and try and see if it's something we can do. And that's what took us down the path. And I think a lot of it was around that. That sticks in my mind as something that I really wanted to do, because I thought it was great to, you know, have a dog walk in hospital and be allowed to stroke it and pet it, even just for a few seconds. It just makes such a difference to people's day.
To me,
yeah, I'm preoccupied now. So.
Also, well, personally, I'm not allowed. I'm unable to have human babies. So my furry babies are my, you know, they're my everything. When I met Stephen and he first introduced me to Vladdy, I said basically, well, he stole my heart, and that's where, like, you know, you build that bond up, and if you do go in hospital, that little piece of it, seeing a fur baby is just that is healing in itself.
Yeah, it is, and they're very. The thing with dogs, particularly, is they are hard work. And you know, I've had cats as well, so you know, from a personal opinion, I would say they're more hard work than cats. However, both equally rewarding, and I think it's super rewarding to have an animal. They don't really ask for anything; they just want to be loved. They just want to be loved, and they want to give love back.
And have a cuddle.
Yeah.
I've got him. I'm having a cuddle.
He's fine so long as he can see me.
Yeah.
The first thing he did was look for me.
And look.
Oh, he's giving a kiss. There you go.
Oh, he's trying. He couldn't quite reach.
Yeah, and I think they're very calming animals.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's very difficult for people today. You know, costs have increased so much. Even just vet bills are a lot. You know, a lot of money for people now.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, so I'm sure it's made it very difficult for a lot of people out there who love their animals, but you know, probably struggling a little bit on that side. You know, and obviously we felt it. You know, we have 2 dogs, so we pay twice for them. But we're very, you know, we consider ourselves very lucky and very blessed, and thankfully, as a result, I wanted to give something back. You know, I knew how important it was that day. You know, when that guy walked, I don't even know his name, and it was quite a big dog. I don't even know what it was. It wasn't a husky, but it was quite a big sized dog. It wasn't Labrador. He walked in hospital and thought, how amazing for that. So now I've got a bit more time. That's the reason why I wanted to do it. Yeah. I wanted to give something back. and he is super calm.
I can tell.
He's fine. He's just got eyes on me, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yep.
So wherever he goes, he's got eyes on me. But he's fine. There you go. So,
He's a little love. I've managed to snap 2 photos while he's been on the floor, so.
Oh,
Have you?
Oh,
Yeah.
great.
So I'll
Sure you
post
do
them up in a
some more.
moment.
Yeah, I'm sure you can do some more as well.
One good thing about this room is there's air conditioning, so when it gets a bit hot,
Are you wanting to go down? There we go.
you were saying before about it being quite warm in
Yeah.
here. Are you having a... Oh, he's looking for that box now. I'll put it back over here.
He's looking for the treat.
Oh yeah, they're very intelligent as well. You should
Oh.
add that.
Oh,
Super
yeah.
intelligent. So, but yeah, so we're really happy to be here. We're enjoying our time here, and we hope that people are enjoying their time as well. I had a lady who was visiting her husband a couple of weeks ago, and he was unable to communicate, obviously having some treatment in the hospital,
Mm.
and he had a dog at home, and she asked me to go see him, and whilst he wasn't able to communicate, it was very much, can the dog go and sit on the bed with him,
Mhm.
because, and she was like, do you remember we've got a dog at home, and it was therapy for him, and you could tell that, he certainly wasn't distressed by the situation. He was very, I'm hoping it brought some sort of comfort. We've been out to see him a couple of times, and I've had a number of people ask if they can take photographs of him.
Yeah.
Both staff and patients, so I think Casper's very famous by now. Asked him for photographs. So I think most people know him. And last week, actually, one of the nurses said, "Oh, by the way, what was your name?" Which was great, because she said, "We all know Casper, we don't always know you." I said, "It doesn't matter.
Well,
So if you recognise Casper, then it's a good thing."
It's so funny because we had when I used to take my dog for playing on the field that we lived across the road from years ago. Loads of dogs that he'd play with, and you all the dogs by name.
Mm.
Not a clue what the owners' names were. I just knew the dogs.
I have to say that was very typical during COVID, when you were able to go for your walk during COVID. So of course the walk time for me was very much take the dogs for a walk and open space, and then of course everyone was walking the dogs. So either some people had just got dogs because it was a very common thing to do during COVID, or they were walking the dogs, and like I say, I recognised the dogs but didn't know the owners.
Yeah.
It's a great way to meet people, and I've certainly been to different areas where they have like a dachshund meet on a Sunday morning, or a spaniel meet or something. So there's lots of groups out there where people do get together with other owners, to meet up with their respective dogs, which again I didn't even know that anyone did till I'd seen, turned up. I was like, oh, a lot of dachshunds out today. Oh yeah, it's a dachshund meet. So yeah, there's lots of different dogs, and it doesn't matter which dog, or what type, or which cat, or whatever animal, is supported through pets therapy.
As long as they're docile, in a way.
Well, they're just, you want them to have a personality, and all dogs have a personality.
I'm thinking about my cat.
They need to be calm, and you need to be able to take them to a place and for them to feel comfortable. Because often when you take them into somewhere they're not used to, it can be unnerving. Dogs particularly like routine.
Yeah.
So when you take them outside of that routine, they've got to feel comfortable, or they can get a bit anxious, or they can get a bit nervous. So, but he's been doing well in the hospital now. I think he knows when he gets in the car.
Originally I had 3 cats, Freya, Fifi and Amber. Fifi passed away, fortunately. We called her my black and white sumo wrestler. But Freya is 16 now. And I got Amber from a friend, and I think we worked out that she's like 2 years younger than Freya. Amber absolutely adores Stephen, and I feel like she has been quite a therapeutic little soul for Stephen, helping bring back that, because we went through a time where we didn't have them in that flat. They were with us, but I made a cat apartment for them, didn't we? And they had the cat run, and but then when Laddie died, a few weeks went past, and then we brought them in the flat, and there's the pictures of
Thank you.
I think what I'm trying to say is they are very important. I know some people don't understand animals, or they don't understand dogs or cats, but I would say they're important. They're important to
They teach you a lot of things. We were in the hospital, was it last week or the week before, and every other Thursday there are children in the hospital, and again we've been asked to go to the children's ward, and obviously if you go in the morning, perhaps before they've had the surgery, they're very upset. You know, the last time he was a little girl crying, and you know, and I said to her, I said, you know, you can't be crying. I said, would you like to stroke Casper? And she was like, she nodded, and I said, but if you stroke Casper, you can't cry, because Casper doesn't like little girls that cry. So it helped to stop a little girl crying.
Yeah.
And then there was a little boy in the waiting room, and he had autism. So they'd asked me, I went over to his mother and said, you know, would it be okay to bring Casper over? And the little boy, he was great, you know, and I said, would you like Casper to come and sit on your knee? And he lay on his knee. And I said, you know, do you want, I said, Casper's, you know, this is his name, what's your name? And he didn't want to tell me his name. So I said, if I walk away, I said, would you like to tell Casper your name? You know, and his mum was thrilled, and she said, you know, can we take a photograph? I said, of course. And she said, I think this is what we need for him. So again, dogs and animals and cats, etc. They're therapy for people with other, I don't want to use the word learning disabilities, but with other needs.
Yeah.
They can help massively. And his mum was like, oh yeah, you know, I think we need to get a dog for him. But just in a few minutes, and I think he's super sensitive. He sensed that boy needed, because he won't go and sit just on anyone's knee, but he was more than happy to sit on that boy's knee.
Yeah.
And he was only, whatever, 6, 7 years old. So we tried to take him into the children's ward every other Thursday, and then obviously afterwards they've been super brave, so they're happy to see a dog as well. So everyone has different needs, and even in the hospital they have different needs. So, you know, whether it's people that have had a stroke, or people that have sadly been in here for longer than they wanted to, or perhaps again people that we talked earlier, you know, they've got animals at home and they miss them, or again people with dementia that perhaps can't communicate as well. So there's many needs and differences, but you know, someone like Casper or a dog or another animal could bring some comfort, or at least a smile to some people's faces, just even if it's momentarily. They can do that.
It's surprising how just that moment of contact with a dog or a cat or any animal can just brighten a day. It's not just for a few minutes, it's for the rest of the day, because you'll...
Yeah. I think for us, like certainly at home, you know, it's the dogs add soul into the house.
Yeah.
When they're not there, it's like the house is soulless. So I almost want to say they're larger than life. They might be small, but their personalities are enormous. So very fortunate.
Faye definitely is, isn't she?
Yeah.
She a funny little thing. She I was giving her some attention, and then he came onto the bed and we had a hug. I wasn't feeling well that day, and she just had a paddy whack because I was getting attention from my husband, and she just went to the bottom of the bed and just went, I went, what are you up to?
With her back to us. And just
with her back to us, and she was paddying, because she wasn't getting the attention from me, but I was getting attention from Stevie. I was having a hug from him, and she was so funny. I was like, you little Maddie thing. And
huge personalities.
Yeah.
So there's a lot we can learn from animals, I have to say.
Oh, definitely. Unconditional love being one of them.
Yeah, they don't ask for anything.
No.
And they just want fuss, love, stroke, cuddles, and they give it back tenfold.
Hell yeah.
Amber's very talkative, isn't she?
So he's realised there's somebody outside the door now.
Oh.
And don't know if you've got another guest, but he's realised, there's somebody outside the door now, so now he's...
The porter probably walk up and down.
Yeah.
He's got a bit of an interest, probably wanting to know what's going on outside the door. We're going to go outside the door soon, but not now.
Now, but while you're here, I don't know whether I mentioned this in the emails that we've passed back and forwards, but did I ask about doing a PSA for the public service? Oh, right, never mind then. I was going to say if you had anything prepared that you could just say that we could record and put on as a thing, because I know you've got a sheet of paper there. I don't know whether you've got anything.
They were just some notes, but no, but I can put something together if it's appropriate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's have a conversation at the end. Yeah. Perfect.
No worries. So how long have you been doing Pat dogs altogether?
So I've only been doing it for just over a year, but that was more because I just didn't have the time because my work schedule didn't allow me to do it. I sort of wish I'd been doing it earlier, but I'm glad that I've done it and I'm doing it now.
So is that in the
So it's a year in total. So
is that what I'm saying is that just here, or was that the other
place as well? So yeah, so I applied to Pets as Therapy to become a volunteer. So I did that first. Then I had to wait for the assessment, and then we had a placement, as I explained, which was like a day centre for older people. And that was where I was living before. So, and since I moved to Chorley, so I've been going through the application process at Lancashire Teaching Hospitals, and we've been coming here now for a few weeks. So it just took a little while to go through that process. So it's only really a year, just over a year for me.
So that's from when you first started. Yeah. So it's not just you've not just been here at the hospital. The hospital here, right? That's what I was. I know you said earlier that you've been doing it for a year, but I didn't know whether it was just whether that was here or whether that was
and
altogether.
some people do volunteers and they just go once a month or they go once a week. I mean, I actually came in the hospital once on a Saturday because I couldn't get in during the week, and it was quiet on the Saturday, but there were still patients here. And I was like, well, I still want to do it. I was like, even just because I couldn't come in the week, I felt a bit guilty. I wanted to come. We're trying to come every week, but as best as possible with good intention because it's a volunteer.
Yeah.
As I said, no set day, but yeah, so that's what we're trying to do. And
so
he's super happy.
I know being a volunteer here at the hospital, it's not a straightforward thing of just applying and then just getting on with it. There's a few hoops you've got to jump through in order to be able to become a volunteer, because you've got to make sure that you're the right kind of person. You've got to make sure that you've no criminal background or whatever. So
and I agree with that.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's very important, especially in an environment like hospitals. So it did take a good 3 months or so to go through that process, but I'm glad that we did it. I did it, and here I am today. So yeah, I totally understand. And every organisation has different process, and as a volunteer, you just accept that and work with it.
Yeah.
So if there is anybody who is listening who is interested in becoming a PAT,
then go on to petsastherapy.org. And there is a link. You'll be able to look. You'll be able to click at the top and become a volunteer, and then you fill in the form. And then they set you on the way. And they have regional coordinators, so they help as well. And they've recently had a new CEO, which was great because as a new CEO, he reached out to the volunteers. And he did some like Zoom, like team sessions. When we had an hour's call one night, and he was asking for feedback. What was the process like with Pets as Therapy to become a volunteer? How easy or difficult? So it's really good because now there's new blood in there. There's new people looking at it, and obviously want to make it a better organisation, it's a charity.
Yeah.
So there are at the minute I think over 4,300 they told me registered volunteers. Sounds like a lot, but it's not a lot, and they're always looking for volunteers. So even if you think I don't have a lot of time or I can't commit to it being once a week or whatever, don't give up hope. Don't think you can't do it, because they'll take volunteers. There's no set regime. You're in control of your time. But obviously they're extremely grateful and they can help put in touch with organisations. They have, I'm not a big social media user, but they do have a Facebook page as well, I think. So I know they have one for all the volunteers and people post various things on there. But you know, they're a charitable organisation. So like any other charitable organisation, they're looking for people. And, you know, the objective is that we try and help and give something back with our time and with our animals.
Exactly. So you need to register and join
you need to go
with.
online, and you need to. It's not a difficult process.
Yeah.
Say I want to become a volunteer, and then you know, and then you start the process, and then like I have a link online, and I then said, oh, I want to do this with Casper, and here's Casper's information. So tell them a bit about Casper,
Mm-hmm.
and he has his photograph, and we get a little. We have, you know, as well the hospital, so we have our own pets as therapy. You know, IDs. Casper has his own as well. You know, and you know, so we're registered. I have to provide that information to the hospital, and of course it's important to make sure that we're insured as well. So the charitable organisation ensures that we're covered.
Yeah.
As well. So it's not just something you can just do on your own and go off and do with it. I think there's definitely benefit to using the organisation like Pets as Therapy. I think that there are other ones as well. But as I explained, I met somebody from Pets as Therapy a few years ago, and that's the reason why I went to them.
Yeah. So you join with Pets at Therapy. Now, do Pets at Therapy put you with somebody, or is that up to you?
They give you all
what you
the
do?
information. They will help. Yeah, they give you all the information, and they'll tell you places that are looking. And often they do get requests. So they'll send an email and say, you know, we've had a request from X school. They're looking for a volunteer, and they'll send out like an email saying, you know, if anybody's looking, they're looking. You know, and like I say, it could be school, it could be hospital, it could be a hospice, it could be all sorts of different organisations. So you very much you can choose what you want to do.
Yeah.
Or again, you might hear of the need. So it's very much, you know, it's open. It's not totally prescriptive.
Yeah.
You know, I'm in control of what I do with Casper, and I just feed back to them. Like I say, it's good to know there's a network behind you to support you as well.
Oh yeah. That's one of the main things, getting someone who's behind you rather than just
you couldn't just do
them
it.
signing up and then leaving you to it and not bothering.
No, they don't do that.
No,
and obviously, you know, it's important for me as well because I'm working under the brand of Pets as Therapy.
Yeah.
As well as a volunteer for the hospital. So it's the credibility, and it's very important that we maintain the standards both within the hospital but also for Pets as Therapy.
So, with the way you just said it, I'm trying to just work something out here. Would they get in contact with you and say such and such a place are looking for someone to go in, and then give you the option to go in, or would
so
like even if it's just once?
Yeah, they will send you. They'll send you details and say such and such a place are looking for someone. But it won't necessarily be to just me. It might be to any other volunteers in the area, and see if somebody can go forward. I mean, there are lots and lots of organisations that are looking for volunteers, and there aren't enough volunteers.
Yeah. So it's not just a case of you put you in touch with places and then.
No, there's always a list.
They'll always be able to. They'll always contact you and say, or they can always contact you and say that this place needs somebody to go in, and if you're happy to do it, go.
And they do that as well.
Oh, that's good.
And again, you know, we can make donations to Pets as Therapy. You can leave a donation in a will to Pets as Therapy, like you can at other organisations, like Cinnamon Trust is another one, where, you know, that's totally reliant as well on volunteers. So, as with all animal charities, they're reliant on donations and volunteers. But Pets as Therapy, it's in the title. It's all about the therapy.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why I personally wanted to do it. I wanted to give something back. You know, and it works. So it has a purpose, and this is the right one for us, for me and Casper.
Oh yeah, there's we've said it before. There's nothing like an animal to just making a fuss of an animal and.
Yeah. The first time I brought it into the hospital, I was a bit worried. Like I thought somebody would tell me, why have you got a dog in the hospital or something? But they didn't. And actually, when I came to meet Sarah, who I know that you met a couple of weeks ago, you know, we went off into the coffee shop and we just sat there, and then somebody came in who was a user, but she had a service dog, and it was great because, you know, she had the service dog, we had Casper, both well behaved. On the way out, it was like, can they say hello to one another? Because at the end of the day, the dogs, right,
Yeah.
want to say hello to one another, which they did.
They're sociable animals,
Yeah,
aren't they?
yeah, so they socialised a little bit. No barking, I'm afraid, Stephen, but you know. So actually, you know, and then when I came to the hospital with Casper the first time, one of the other volunteers was very kind and took me round, because it's not easy to find your way around the hospital,
No.
as we discovered today to find you. And she kindly, very, very kindly, which was very helpful for me, took me around to the different wards and introduced me to people. Not that I remember everyone's name. Whereas now I'm still, you know, a number of weeks in, but I'm still think I'm trying to get there, trying to get around the wards. So, you know, and even last week, you know, I got in the lift and there was somebody, they were looking for the outpatients to give blood. They didn't know where it was. Obviously, it's moved. So I was like, I know where it is. I'll tell you what, why don't you come with us? So we accompanied them as well off to go and do that. You know, they just needed a bit of help. So, yeah, we're a volunteer to help for patients, but if we see somebody else that needs help, we'll always step in if I can, and with a remit of that support, which you just do. So, yeah, we meet lots of people in the corridors and lifts in this hospital.
Yeah. The problem is with us, we only come on a Monday. We're in this little room, the back end of Beyond. We don't get into the hospital very well, so we don't know the hospital at all. We just know about one or two places and how to get there. And there's a few times when I've been walking up, because we've come from one car park and come around the corridor that you came down, rather than the way we usually come in. And people have stopped us asking us, and we've got the lanyards on with the volunteer badges, and do you know how I get to such and such a place? Not the faintest idea, sorry. But it is a weird hospital to find your way around this one, isn't it?
It is, but we're getting there. So Casper likes going up and down the corridors anyway.
Yeah.
That's good fun. So, we'll get our steps in.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
That's there, so.
Right, well, just take a moment's break to say that you're listening to me, Stevie B.
And me, Ollie B.
And Trish and Casper.
And it's the Beehive here at Chorley Hospital Radio. We've got our very special guest in, as you just heard, and we're just chatting about the Pat Dog service, which, if you don't know, is Pets as Therapy. So it's not just dogs, it's cats,
Animals, pets.
Cats, monkeys, tarantulas, iguanas. Fish might be a bit of a stretch.
Rabbits a lot.
Yeah, rabbits, yeah.
Obviously the priority is that the welfare of the pet is paramount at all times. So
exactly.
There's a limit to how long you can do, up to 2 hours. And then we do find, in fact, somebody was very helpful last week and was like, can we get outside there? And they're like, yeah, go and take him outside for a little walk. So it's quite good around Chorley Hospital, because there is some green grass and areas that we can go for a little breather, have a little bit of a sniff and toilet breaks and stuff like that. And as we go around the hospital, but yeah, we do that as well throughout the time. Very acquainted. But thank you for having us, Steve. And Ollie, lovely
Pleasure.
to meet you both.
You too.
And you. And
Casper.
More importantly, Casper.
Yeah, he's
Well, not more
his
important.
energy, because we're going to head off round the wards.
Yeah,
So.
without you, Casper wouldn't be here, so obviously you're the more
Without him,
important
I
one.
wouldn't be here either. So there you go. So we have mutual needs. So yeah, but we're going to go and hopefully cheer up some people around the wards this afternoon.
Oh, definitely. So, were you thinking of heading off shortly, or
Yes,
it's
we're
just so
gonna head
I can put some music on.
Yeah, we'll do.
Because I'd like to get a photograph of us
We will
before
do.
you go. So I'll just get, if you want to have a chat, I'll get some photos. I'll get some music lined up.
My brain's just gone.
I know it goes that way, doesn't it?
Yeah. Is there any? Has there been any people that he's sort of gone, oh, it's you again, and gone to want to say hello to?
No, he's. I think there's lots of people, and his common denominator is me. So long as he's with me, he's fine. But you know, I walked into a ward last week and there was a lady. I always say to the nurses at the nurse station, I say, it's also, is it okay to come in? You know, because of course you never know the circumstances on a ward. So
Yeah.
you know, is it okay we can come in and say hello? You know, and then they'll say, oh yeah, so and so loves dogs. You know, oh, can you make sure you go and see an X person because you know we think it will cheer them up. So
Yeah.
it's really a case of the needs of what people are asking for. You know, we don't force ourselves on anybody, so to speak. It's very much, you know, we walk in and go, hi, you know, Casper's here to see you. Would you like to see Casper? Would you like to stroke Casper? Would you like us to say hello? Do you like dogs? Not everyone likes dogs. You know, and there have been a few people that have said, yeah, don't really like dogs, or I'm a cat person, or whatever, and that's absolutely fine. You can't take offence by that. It's purely a choice thing.
Yeah.
Just very personal. So yeah, but I have to say most people do, and then you know a lot of the staff, you know, they're like, I mean, first time I was looking in one of the wards, there's about 15 people around him, and they're like, oh, can I take a photograph? Yeah, can I take you home, and all sorts of different things they ask for. So it's good that we serve the purpose of helping patients and staff as well.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You know, it's a good thing. So he's very familiar now, and certainly even like walking into A&E, you know, got asked to go in A&E, and I thought that was a strange request, but it's not a strange request. And you know, the staff have been thrilled to have him in A&E.
Oh,
I mean,
It's fine. Oh yeah.
to be fair, in A&E, it's so boring waiting to be seen that obviously anything that would brighten that time is very welcome.
Yeah, again, for patients and for staff as well. Sometimes staff are like, oh, we've had a really tough day, and oh, can I, you know, there was a lady a few weeks ago, and she said, can I just have a cuddle with Casper? You know, and which is fine. And also we meet the people that kindly make tea and stuff like that have all the biscuits, but we don't get any, but we do go for a sniff around them. We were following a guy around last week, going, following you because you're making the cups of tea. We know.
When you say we have a sniff round them, are you talking about you, Casper, or both of you?
Casper has a sniff around the trolley. Obviously we can't allow him to have the steal all patients' food either, and we do try and avoid lunchtime, etc. as well, as you would imagine. But yes, so we got acquainted with the gentleman that was kindly making everyone's cups of tea, because he's as equally important as anybody else in this hospital. So we were following him around from ward to ward as well. So we make all sorts of friends in this hospital, which is great. Great for us.
It's brilliant being a volunteer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because we do what we want to do because the love of it rather than financial gain.
Oh yeah, there's absolutely. I mean, I do this because I want to do it. And
if this for me, if this was a job, I'd get really bored of it very quickly. But because it's a volunteer, I'm doing it because I want to.
Yeah.
And
I want to help people and give something back. Yeah, totally agree.
You're doing this for the love of doing it, not for anything else, and it's brilliant.
I think it's great. It gets me out, gets me different. I meet different people. You know, it's great. We would never have met you.
Yeah.
You know, first time done a radio show. So thank you very much for inviting us.
Pleasure.
So it's it creates opportunities.
Well, you're welcome back anytime.
Thank you very much.
As long as it's a Monday afternoon and we're here.
That's fine. I will remember that, Steve, and we know where you are now, so I'm sure we can pop in to see you from time to time.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
I mean, there are other presenters on during the week, but just off the top of my head, I don't know exactly when. But I said we're here Monday afternoons between 1 and 4 for the most part. There are the odd weeks when we're not here, but
that's great.
We're even here bank holidays.
Good.
We are now, yeah. We started this, was it a year before the shutdown?
No, I think it was about 2. I think we started in 2018.
Oh, was it? Okay then.
We started bringing guests in from the community, whether it be like what do you call it? Oh, the first one we had in was Friends for You, which sounds like provide a friendship service for anybody who's on their own. And then we had Charlie's Angels, which were like a first aid group, and then we started getting authors in, and we've had musicians in. We've had, Sarah came in a few weeks ago, but unfortunately we had to cut that show short because I wasn't feeling I became ill during the show, so we had to cut the show short. So Sarah will be coming in again next week. And just in case you're wondering who Sarah is, she's our immediate boss. She's the volunteer manager. So she's all our boss. And she's lovely, but as I said, we just have to, what's the word I'm looking for? Just have to make sure that next week we're all in tip-top condition.
Yes.
I'm sure you will be.
So Sarah, I think, will be here from 1 o'clock. All being well, just have to get in touch with her and remind her about it. Make sure she's not forgotten.
So we're going to head off to the woods now, so
Okay.
thank you so much indeed for having us.
Thank you for coming out in this wind.
Oh yeah, it's not very nice weather today.
It's not very nice weather, but it's a lovely day.
Yeah,
And it's a lovely day because we've met somebody new, we've met Casper.
Yes.
And
thank you so much for having us.
it's always lovely to have somebody in who's passionate about what they're doing, and you can tell when they're talking.
Yeah,
so
we do like what we're doing. I'm now going to wake him up though, take him.
Right, so
Oh, there you go. He's woke up now.
So while we're saying our farewells to Trish and Casper, let's have our continuous cover feature, which this week comes from, well, the original is Blondie, and then we have In This Moment and Tina Arena. You might recognise this one.